with whatever's happening on the ground there is, and I'm seeing we don't have access to chat. Let me see if I can grant access to chat or allow folks to talk, and then we can see who we have in our virtual room. Oh, here comes Patrick now. All right.
Hello.
Hello.
Did I lose you guys?
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. Do we have another Wi-Fi connection that I could connect to? Okay. Because I'm connected to the Kuwait one. So should I just stick with that one?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
Sorry.
Okay. No problem. All right. So I just had my introduction, Miranda and Phil. Do you want to get started, Miranda? I'll pass it over to you.
Sure, that sounds great. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining our session. My name is Miranda. I'm the Director of Partnership Development at EnGen. Just a little bit about myself. I started my career in ESL as an instructor and have been in the education space in various capacities since then. So I'm excited to be in the room with you all and look forward to learning more about what you all have to share and interesting programs and initiatives that you have and are doing at your institution. I don't know if Patrick shared a little bit about EnGen, but we're a certified B Corp. We're really focused on career-aligned English upskilling to remove the language barrier for folks to more quickly access certification programs, to advance in their careers, to feel comfortable and confident in their current job roles, or to transition, reclaim careers, and so on. And we partner with a lot of institutions, adult education, community colleges, employers, nonprofit, state and local agencies in order to do this. So with that, I will turn it over to Phil to do his intro.
Okay, I'll be quick. My name's Phil Villamore. I'm an assistant principal for the ESL program with Huntington Beach Adult School. I have worked in CTE and diploma and GED as well. And we've worked together with EnGen over the last couple of years with a couple of our health paths, but very specifically with the medical assistant path that we'll be able to talk about a little bit today.
Awesome. Thanks, Phil and Miranda. Just moving on to the next slide. Just a quick agenda for today. We just had our introductions. We're going to be talking about understanding why we're doing the work that we're doing, bridging the gap between ESL and workforce development. And we'll have Phil highlight their ELL healthcare pathways model, the ecosystem partnerships, the certified medical assistant, IET, specifically for Huntington Beach Adult School, some outcomes, and at the very end, we have some workshop individual plans that you're going to be working with your neighbors today about how you want to like create an IET, or we have some resources as well that I'll be sharing with you so you can kind of take this back.
I wonder if he loses them or it's just us.
Right. I don't know if the attendees can hear us right now because it's his computer. Let me ask. And I'm not even host anymore.
It's okay.
Well, thanks for your flexibility.
You know.
Okay, let me see. So let's see. Diana or Emily, are you still on? Can you hear us? What about Georgia? Gustavo?
Okay. Dental assistant and all those. And we have a partner that we do training with too. And we have EnGen also, and we use EnGen to help us with our training with our IET programs. It's been really good as far as giving that language learning for those that are English as a second language for those students and help them with that language. But it's also helping those who are native speakers with them, introducing them to the medical terminology and the different things associated with them, different healthcare fields that we offer.
Love to hear it. We love to hear EnGen clients that are in here. Thanks for sharing. Anyone else that is willing to share where they're coming from, what are they most interested to learn about today?
Thank you very much. I'm Tatiana Roganova. I'm the director of Sequoia Adult School, which is located in the Bay Area. We have a couple positive experiences of the IET programs on our campus. One is e-commerce, where we are partnering with Goodwill of San Francisco, and the students are learning some marketing skills and e-commerce skills. They can sell stuff on eBay and get jobs at Goodwill. And also office assistant, where our students shadow our staff on campus, and they help us with registration and assessments of new students. Now we are embarking on the dental assistant program, and so I'm a little bit nervous about it. This is something new. We never had anything in the medical field, so that's why I'm here and want to learn about different strategies and pitfalls that might present. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. It seems like you have different industries that are already in line with your programs at your region. Anyone else that wants to share? We have one more here in front and we'll get started.
Okay, I am the CPN for Tarrant County area in Dallas, Texas. Well, Fort Worth, Dallas, Fort Worth, not Dallas. Dallas is a different county, but we do a lot of the medical for CNA, phlebotomy, electrocardiogram, and PCT. We also do certified medical translator and community translator, where they translate from their native language to English for individuals. And we also took on
Did you lose them again? Okay. Let's see. So the folks who are online, can you hear us? And are you able to speak? Okay.
Looks like they're all muted.
So let's see. So everyone has the option to come off mute. And Emily just mentioned that they can hear. So that is good to know. Emily, are you able to come off mute and talk, or is that disabled for you? Because I enabled talking permissions for everyone.
I was able to unmute. I'm not Emily, but I'm somebody else.
Perfect. That's all I wanted to get was confirmation on that. I think because we are having issues with their Wi-Fi at the moment, what we could do, Phil, if you're cool with it, we can just kind of go through and focus on the folks that we have here online and go from there if that works. What do you think?
I'm I'm good, but yeah, as long as they are.
Let me see. I'll send, okay, so it seems like some folks aren't able to, I'll send
As
Patrick
long
a
as we
quick
have the question
message.
and answer, yeah.
Yeah, so, okay. I'm almost wondering if his hotspot would be better, like his hotspot on his phone than their Wi-Fi. Okay. Well, Patrick was sort of getting a sense of who was in the room in person. For those of you who are able to unmute or to, if you can type in the Q&A section. Feel free to just let us know where are you coming from, why you're here, what you're hoping to gain, and where you are in sort of the development of an IET process, or if you're looking to get more tips or share successes, or what your goals are as well. So for those who can speak, feel free to share that. Rachel, I know you were able to unmute, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you wanted to, or we can just jump in, whatever you all prefer.
I can start. My name is Rachel. I am an associate dean at Lakeshore College in Wisconsin. We currently are offering 3 pathways in our IET programming. We do a healthcare track, a business track, and we also have, I think we're back.
Okay, I
Right.
apologize. There has been network issues in this room. So what are the chances that I'm in this room and I have 2 co-presenters with me? Thank you
Oh,
for your
perfect.
patience.
Well, we were just kind of connecting with the online audience here, so all
We've got
good.
a plan if we lose you again.
Yes. We'll just kind of
Awesome.
go through and then hopefully can connect when Phil's talking more specifically about the model at Huntington Beach.
Sounds good. And I hope the internet goes well for the rest of the presentation, but we'll try our best. And thank you for your patience, everyone in the room. So just going back, I was talking about, even though the number states or the data states that we have low unemployment, we're still hearing from our employer partners that they're facing persistent staffing gaps. In some states, we are seeing as few as 38 workers for every 100 open jobs. And in speaking of, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, we are projecting a 15% growth in employment for medical assistants between 2023 and 2033. For each year, we are expecting at least 119 or 120,000 new openings. And so how do we anticipate this openings, and how do we create more pathways for language learners to access this healthcare pathways? And lastly, the importance of having a multilingual workforce in the healthcare. It's very important. I mean, coming from the multilingual community, I myself, when I first migrated to the States, I preferred to have my medical and my healthcare system to be speaking my own native language, which is Tagalog or Filipino. I'm sure in your communities you have Spanish, you have other languages that are spoken, and your communities prefer the same language because it creates more trust within the healthcare community. It creates that connection between the provider and the communities that you're serving. And there's just many benefits of having a multilingual workforce, especially in the healthcare field. I know Miranda is also going to share some benefits of this. And so do you want to, I'm going to hand it over to Miranda to translate.
Yeah, and one thing that we're hearing from partners that we're working with, with community health workers is one where our partners are finding it is more beneficial to provide the English and the technical upskilling for already established community members than it is to sort of bring somebody from the outside to facilitate trust and sort of build those relationships. And so,
And especially our partner, Huntington Beach Adult School.
We may be out again.
yeah, he's back.
Go ahead, Miranda. Sorry
We
about
don't see
that.
the presentation anymore, but okay.
Yeah, we lost the presentation. You were saying, especially Huntington Beach Adult School, and Phil is going to talk more specifically about this really amazing IET that they've developed in partnership with their industry partner, Memorial Care. And so, Phil, I'll turn it over to you to talk more specifically about the regional needs, the workforce needs you were addressing specifically in Orange County.
Okay. I'm pausing just to see if we go to that slide. I'm going to start. There is a slide that kind of gives our particulars, but it's kind of like everyone's particulars at this point. Yeah. All right. So for us in Orange County, #1 ranked for, coming up, and it was this way when they did it 4 years ago as well. Health is at the top. Lots of need for healthcare workers. We've got a couple listed there below it, but really our focus today is going to be health and how the medical assistant fits in there. So we basically the question was, what are workforce priorities for us as Huntington Beach Adult School and for Memorial Care, our partner? We're just going to quickly introduce that here. For us, we were already prioritizing healthcare pathways and transitioning ESL students to those pathways because that's what our whole area is looking at. The Workforce Development Board has said, hey, these are the sectors. They've also identified we've got this many students that are or people that we need to train up in the language to get to tackling those jobs. So both of those fit into our wheelhouse. And then for Memorial Care, they were really looking at prioritizing pathways for incumbent workers. They already had a group and they wanted to get that group that was, let's say, just doing office assistant jobs, but didn't have that specific medical assistant title yet. They wanted to get them ready to move up and really taking a lot of pride in giving those sorts of opportunities to their people at their organization, right? So they're already having that kind of thinking. And when they contacted us, that was already their thinking. So it was nice. We want to provide these kind of opportunities, and we were looking to provide similar opportunities. As it turns out, we were able to do both, bring in some recruits and hit that incumbent worker pathway. But I'll leave it there for now because I think we've got some stuff in between.
You want to go to the next slide, Patrick? So we're going to talk more specifically about that program. We want to hear from you all in terms of what you're seeing in the regions that you're working in. It seems like healthcare, continues to be a high demand sector. We'd love to hear from you all. What are some of those high demand sectors in addition to healthcare? What are you currently doing at your institution to meet that demand? And what are some workforce gaps that you've identified? So as soon as Patrick is able to progress to the next slide, we'll be able to. All right. I don't even have the option to share my screen. Let's see. Oh, I do. Okay. All right. So for those of you who are online, just going to share my screen with you all. So feel free to share what some of those what some of those sectors are, what you're currently doing at your institution to meet that demand, and what are some of the workforce gaps that you've identified. if anybody here on the call can share that. Or feel free to put in the
Q&A.
Q&A. Anybody? We'd love to hear from you. And we'll give it another second. If not, we'll just move on to our next slide. And Phil, I guess a question for you. When you were starting this process with Memorial Care, I know they had reached out to you and they saw more specifically that you were offering this pathway and certification in CNA. Were there any other sort of regional research or data that you were leveraging, or workforce gaps that have come out of that data that you were leveraging in order to decide or make decisions around which pathways to pursue?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. And when they came to us, it was because we do offer medical assistant, but it was in the daytime, and they wanted us to offer it in the evening. And the reason that we came back with, yes, we think we can, is part of what I was explaining earlier, is we did know that we wanted to expand in that with the ELL Health Path grant that state of California had out there, allowing certain areas to go further in their pathways, but specific to an IET, right? So we were looking to do that anyway, and we let them know, hey, this is how we can do it. And it seemed, you know, we weren't sure if that would kill the deal for them, if it had to be English learners, but really, you know, when we looked at who they had there, even though these were English learners that were doing all right already, they did have a number of folks whose language was not native English anyway. And so, again, that was sort of regional data that very specifically had a grant coming our way. And that's what we were leveraging when we were talking to them about that need.
Thanks for sharing that. I know somebody mentioned that there is a chat, but I don't know about you, Phil. I don't see a chat option.
No, I just see the Q&A.
Okay.
I can look around, but
well, we'll persist despite our technical glitches.
yeah, we'll pretend it's all good.
So in terms of, you know, continuing the conversation of workforce priorities, you know, the Huntington Beach model is amazing because it is really serving, providing the upskilling and certification for I see our presenter, for incumbent workers and job seekers, or folks who are students currently employed with Huntington Beach Adult School, but are looking to sort of make this transition. Hi, Liz.
Hey, Miranda, can you hear us?
I can, yeah.
Yes.
We can hear you.
Okay. We were just having a share out while we were trying to figure out the connection. And so I think we're back.
Perfect. Oh, that's great. Okay. We were just, apparently we don't have chat functionality, although some people are speaking in the chat. But there's not much opportunity, I think, for folks to speak in this environment. So we're ready to go to the next slide whenever you all finish your share outs.
Oh, are you sharing? You're sharing Miranda, right?
Oh, I can stop sharing.
Yes, you can. Well, I think it would be better if we, okay. Yes, okay. So moving to the next slide. At EnGen, we'll look at English skills as workforce skills. And so this is very important as we talk about supporting language learners, because 1 in 10 working age adults is an English learner. And I'm not sure if you know this statistic, that according to Migration Policy Institute, the United States serves the needs of just 4% of its workforce. And so just think about the many immigrants and new Americans in the United States that are not being served with those services. Additionally, traditional ESL programs do not meet the needs of working adults because, again, for the many challenges that I've mentioned, not being able to go to a community college or an adult class 5 times a week because they have many responsibilities. They don't have access to childcare and other resources. Another share out before we move forward. What are some of the barriers of English language learners are facing in terms of accessing CTE or workforce training programs? What we've seen from the many organizations that we work with is that too often English learners are stuck in ESL, or when they transition, the content gets too hard for them, so they tend to drop out. What are you seeing in your own institutions? Let me just hand the mic, Miranda. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
I'm Corey Kennedy with Central 9 in Greenwood, Indiana. I work with the internationally trained professionals, and what I'm finding is English proficiency is what they lack the most. And what a lot of people don't understand is they do need that English proficiency before they can get into their field. And that's what I'm here for, is to find out how to get them there and then have that IET for them. Because with the IETs, it's all in English and they have to be able to pass it. So that's what I'm finding is the biggest barrier. They go on to the high school equivalency just to get more English, but I don't want to cramp them by getting them their high school diploma if they don't need it in the United States, but a lot of them want it.
Thank you for sharing. We have one more here in front.
And that's what we're finding. The reason why we created the ITT program, because we found that a lot of our professionally trained individuals were going to GED, and in our books, it's a waste of time for them because they already have the basics of those languages, of their skills as far as math and everything. They just need the language. So we created this program so they can bypass that, and they go through ESL for their basics, and once they exit out of ESL, then we get into our ITP for advanced levels of English, and that's going to focus specifically on their particular career that they're in, or a career that they want to go to.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. So moving into the next slide, just wanted to show you the vision of EnGen, how we're bridging the gap between traditional ESL programs and workforce development programs. Through our contextualized English learning courses, we are able to accelerate the readiness of the many language learners that we are serving throughout community colleges, throughout libraries, throughout the employers that we work with. And so we're giving them the English skills that they need to be able to transition into those credential programs. And what we're seeing is that if learners understand that they need to learn English to be able to get a credential, they are more likely to invest time in learning English than to just learn English because they need to learn what is an apple, what is a banana, and it's not tied to any goal that they want to pursue in the near future. And so if it is tied to a goal, maybe getting a credential, getting a job, getting a higher pay raise, or getting a promotion, then English learners are invested in English upskilling. And I'm going to hand it over to Miranda to talk about this slide.
Yeah, thanks for that. And just this is a model that we've sort of established and found a lot of success with. And similarly to what we'll be showcasing in our partnership with Huntington Beach Adult School, where the adult learners specifically have a very clear career pathway. And we know that not all learners will continue to follow that pathway, and that there's a lot of on-ramps and off-ramps throughout that process. But at least sort of establishing that guideline for them can help them more quickly get to those opportunities that are going to open economic mobility or opportunities for economic mobility. So starting off with the workforce-focused English upskilling, And this can be in a number of different models. We'll talk a little bit more about a blended model today, and paired with those industry recognized credentials, and then those integrated skills more generally, equipping those learners with the skills and credentials they need to either, again, advance in their careers, transition careers, reclaim careers, whatever their particular goal is. All meanwhile, as this learner is on this journey, and in one of the previous slides we didn't get to, Phil was going to talk more specifically about some of the learners, and start to give you sort of that learner profile and story to kind of build that into sort of the conversation we have today, because that's what it's all about, is really just the impact and that overall individual success of those learners. And so meanwhile, as the learners are going through this journey, they're getting those wraparound support services, whether, it's with our partnering institutions. I know Phil has partnered, and the Huntington Beach Adult School team have partnered with a number of organizations, and also leveraged the career counselors that they have at the adult school to really support learners throughout this journey. EnGen also offers supportive wraparound services, because those services are needed as learners engage on this pathway. More specifically, if you jump to the next slide, Patrick, when we're talking about workforce-focused English upskilling, today we'll look at the IET model and the pre-IET model, because we'll talk a little bit about sort of that career pathway model, starting folks in a general intro to medical terminology, intro to healthcare careers, as a boot camp or an on-ramp to the IET, once they establish that level of proficiency, to be able to successfully access the IET model or the IET program. This is also an employer-based model, right? So we'll have some insights into that, but also pre-apprenticeship is a big model or area as well that continues to grow as more folks start to access apprenticeship programs and offer apprenticeship programs with local industry providers as well. So, and Patrick, if you jump to the next slide. And so this here is where there's a lot of synergy, right, between EnGen and Huntington Beach Adult School in terms of creating that pathway. More specifically, you can see sort of the nuts and bolts of the pathway here, and I'll turn it over to Phil to give you more insights into that program specifically.
I'm sorry, I thought I wasn't coming up for a moment. So our program, in terms of this slide, we're still on, right? Okay.
And Phil, I can also jump in that one. Sorry.
Okay.
If you want me to, I don't want to put you on the spot.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So the model that had been developed specifically at Huntington Beach Adult School is sort of built around that CMA program. You can see it's this medical assistant certification where there's the Huntington Beach Adult School learners in the same program with the Memorial Care frontline or front office employees. Prior to that, for folks who don't have the sort of established proficiency, and correct me if I'm wrong, Phil, they participate in the Intro to Health Occupations pathway. So this is a starting point. This is a general, it's a much more general healthcare offering that allows learners to start to build some of the medical terminology that they need to pursue various pathways in the in the healthcare field. Again, once they demonstrate that proficiency, they move into or can apply for the IET program. After it's about a 6-month program where learners are in the IET, they are then able to participate in an externship at Memorial Care. And we'll talk a little bit more about those outcomes as we get towards the end of the presentation here. But the externship is an amazing opportunity for those learners to have that work-based learning experience. And then some were able to either advance their careers, especially those who were working at Memorial Care or have received job offers. But what was really nice, what really stands out to me with this program is just the mentorship and sort of the relationships that were built through that paired participation with the incumbent workers and the students at Huntington Beach Adult School, being able to work together, support each other in that particular environment. Anything you'd add to that, Phil?
Sounds right. The only thing I would add is on the intro to health occupations, it's not necessarily all of those students that go forward, but again, I think you were saying that too. It's an early opportunity, maybe not as advanced in English, or maybe they are, but just a way to get their foot in there and see what pathway they might like. And then when we do the recruiting, some of the students come from there. Some of them are just other advanced level ESL students. So yeah, good job.
So
I
now
think we
we
have
want to
another
turn
share.
it, yeah, we want to turn it back over to you, and then we'll dive into sort of the ecosystem partnerships. And this is where we'll get more specifically into the sort of what had to happen in order for this program to come into play. So we'd love to hear from you, Patrick. Turn it to you.
Thank you, Miranda. So I'm just going to share it back, give it back to you, audience. We have some questions here in front. What are career pathways or IETs are you currently offering? I think we already heard this to some, but if there's anyone else that wants to share that we haven't heard yet, please feel free to tell us. What's the model and what are the successes and challenges?
So if you've seen Breaking Bad, you know where I come from. We have a very successful CNA program where I work. I'm not sure what the model is. Our success is it's one of our most successful programs. We've had it's created a lot of pathways for a lot of our students. One of our challenges is not a lot of our male students are interested in it. So it is probably 98% female. And then we have a male or two occasionally, but they usually don't finish. So we're trying to find some other pathways that are less gender specific, I guess.
Thanks for sharing. We have another one in front.
Hi, I'm Julie Greaves with Lincoln Literacy in Lincoln, Nebraska. Because we are a literacy agency rather than a community college, we actually have focused on prep programs. So we have a CNA prep program that our tutors are usually retired doctors and nurses, and they will work all the way through a course textbook with our students before they go and do the whole course textbook again. So they're comfortable with the English, they know what's going on. We've repeated that success with medication aid and phlebotomy courses as well. And then we've also have we have a CDL prep, we have a para prep, which is paraeducators in our school systems, and some others that we're still developing. And it's been really helpful getting people's English to the place they need it to be before they tackle a certification course.
Okay, I think our programs are all successful. The only challenges that we are having now is getting passes for students to make it to their in-person classes because of the grant now. So we have to be careful with our funding now, because we used to just give them a ride, a pass for a ride back and forth to any of their classes. That's our biggest challenge.
And I think that's it. Any comments from the virtual audience?
I'm not seeing anything. I
Am
see.
I unmuted? I'm not sure if you can
Yep.
hear me. But I'm Onyaboya from Montgomery College in Maryland. We run several IETs. We do a phlebotomy, pharmacy tech, CMA that we added recently, and a network. And we use the HBAS model, co-teaching model. And I want to say that phlebotomy has been the most successful IET that we're running, with a very high rate of passing the certification exam and finding employment as well. The challenge that we've had is with, we also run a network plus certification. That one has been the most challenging because the pass rate for the certification exam has been quite low. That's it.
Great.
Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Can move to the next slide.
Okay. And really what we want to drive home with this is that, it really is an ecosystem approach to upskilling, and the role that adult education plays in that is really sort of the center, generating all of these partnerships, leveraging these partnerships, utilizing all of the industry data to make a successful program for learners to more quickly get their credential or reach their specific goal. So Phil, I'd love to turn it over to you if you can talk a little bit more specifically about the way that you've leveraged the employer relations and some of the nonprofit or community-based organizations that you've worked with as well. Obviously, you all know we're partners in this as well. Any other things that you can add to kind of showcase the importance of that partnership model?
Yeah, for us, well, I mean, one is on the slide that we have is Memorial Care is our other partner we're working together with on that. But yeah, we routinely bring in a group called Advancing Justice in our area. I don't know what the national scope of that is, but they help with all sorts of immigration and citizenship assistance for us. As Miranda mentioned earlier, and I can't remember if it's when some of us were together and some weren't, but we do have a couple counselors of our own that we bring into this that we let them know about early on, and then just sort of remind as we go for the things that come up. And in our program, things did come up, and sometimes you're able to salvage folks making their way through the program because of that, and sometimes just life problems are even bigger, right? But we having the counselors and having our students know about them is a big deal for us. But even our partnership with Memorial was more than just Memorial saying, yes, you can come in and do this. We really, the people that are working with us, they're, I forget, she's got a nice long title, but the one we work with the most, Leslie, is their career strategist. I mean, she was there at almost every beginning of their class, just making sure things were going well, checking in with students. When we go to the externship part, all the the managers of the clinics that they're going to are an integral part of what we're doing. So anyway, I don't want to linger too long on that. Those are just some basic, partnerships that we're dealing with there.
Move to the next slide, Patrick.
Okay, and this one, what's there is just really out of our syllabus. I just wanted to get that in front of you at some point because it is representative of our curriculum and EnGen's together. So there's a whole nother part that's not shown there. That's how it meets the IET regulations, as at least in California, having the language support and then the career prep and then the workforce training prep. That's not shown there, but that's another part of the syllabus. But what is shown is we have curriculum that's coming from our main text, which in this case is a McGraw-Hill text on medical assisting and all of the difficulties that come with that, but they have their own online program too. But then we have the EnGen units, and the EnGen is aligned with each of the weeks that we're doing. Some weeks come more than others, but we use that back and forth. Most of what's in the class is the medical text that they're using, but we have specific days where we're making sure we're getting into that EnGen text, making sure we're reminding our students that not only are we touching on that in class, but the expectation is that they can get so much more assistance going through that at home. Basically, repeating things as many times as they want, getting more familiar with the curriculum, which they need. And again, the EnGen is designed to provide more of that language support. But the part on well, my left, I guess it's for yours as well, is just giving you a quick breakdown of how many hours we go. And some medical assistant programs are that, even if they are not supporting the English, but most are a little shorter. But some of the things mentioned earlier that I heard Miranda talking about, or others in the group here, I think we're talking about, we do have a co-teacher model. So we have two teachers. The main medical assistant teacher has more hours with the class. but he is also, so we have two different teachers. They're both able to assist ESL. So technically speaking, we could have run it with just him, but we have two teachers that we use routinely. We have a coordinator that is, specifically for IET that works with both of them so that we can get those co-ops done in the class. And, if you were looking at the whole curriculum there, you would see that we have it planned out for when those co-ops are going to happen. And basically when we're doing the EnGen work is supporting when we're going to do those co-ops as well. Probably the next one.
Okay.
I think you guys are going to speak to what's actually in EnGen, right? So, okay.
Yeah, and this is really just to kind of show you what it looks like. So we don't, this isn't always the case, but we actually developed our medical assisting program off of the Huntington Beach Adult School curriculum. So there is a lot of synergy and pairing. Obviously it was aligned that way, but this is just a quick snapshot of what it looks like. It does have a competency-based approach, as well as you see a lot of the different media types being used as well. Keywords that learners are focusing on are medical specific terms. So we're really focused on, again, equipping those learners with the technical key words and skills that they need to be able to succeed in the IET program. And so, in thinking about that career pathway, with the intro to health occupations, we have an intro or English for healthcare professionals. We have content to support various pathways in healthcare, but that sort of career pathway will scaffold accordingly based on learners' proficiency. So learners are getting more general skills, and then as they progress on through the career pathway, we'll get more specific skills, whether it's medical coding and billing or sterile processing, what have you. So I'll turn it back over to you. That's just a quick snapshot of all the different courses in healthcare. And, we work across sectors as well, but healthcare, is really the culminating topic or sector in this particular model.
Okay. And I think we're moving on to the next slide as well, right? Just yeah. So what you'll see on that is basically a big graduation pic or certificate ceremony. And I guess what I want to mention here, oops, this may be.
Oh, man. Okay.
It's not being connected again. Should I keep going, or do we think we're out of the?
I think they'll try and get us back in.
Okay.
I think you can speak to this audience, but then this is like
Okay.
most important slide. The one slide.
I'm going to mention to this audience, and if we get a chance to the other, I mean, we use EnGen a lot, but some of the things that Miranda and I have talked about is that we, a big part of the class is these, and I didn't mention it on the other slide, we have these Saturdays where they're together practicing skills. And a lot of the practice with the language happens with practicing those skills with the language with it. Okay, here's Patrick.
Just about to share my screen. Thank you, everybody, for being so patient.
Yes.
We have a question from the crowd before we go back.
Is this program, does it scaffold into
Is that a question for EnGen, or is that a question for Huntington Beach? Okay. To make sure that
I don't know if you guys heard me. Specific to Huntington Beach, is this program by chance parlay into a U.S. Department of Labor apprenticeship program, or is it scaffold into that in some way, shape, or form with any particular occupation? Obviously medical assistant, but was it aligned to U.S. DOL?
It was not. We did have a grant through ELL Health Pathways through the state of California, specific to partnerships between the Department of Education and the community colleges. But it was not specific to EL Health Pathway. The externships they go into, I'm sorry, not specific to the Department of Labor. It was very much a partnership with Memorial Care, and the externships that come at the end are all through Memorial Care. Did that answer it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
One thing to add, and Phil, correct me if I'm wrong, one thing, when you were developing the curriculum, you leveraged a lot of the conversations with Memorial Care to develop the curriculum for this program. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, no, there were, I mean, we had a curriculum to begin with. You know, we had this class that we ran, again, or maybe for the first time for some of you, are running this in the evenings and over a longer period of time. It had to do with our meeting both the needs of their incumbent workers when they could go to work, and the needs of our students who just needed more time with the curriculum, we thought. And so we did have meetings with their clinical education manager about the curriculum that we had, and then looking at it and making sure it had the kinds of things that they actually wanted their medical assistants to know, without tweaking it so much that, you know, they get something so specific that they couldn't go somewhere else afterwards. But we did have a good amount of those sorts of conversations that Miranda is referring to. You want me to keep going here, Miranda? Or, okay.
Yeah, and if there's any, well, if there's anything too that you can add in terms of the development of the program itself, in terms of what things needed to happen in order for you to decide definitively on that curriculum, and sort of overall program specifics, length,
Yeah.
hours, etc.
Yeah, so the things that had to happen, we were looking at the kind of things that we expect you would all, we're still in? Yeah, Patrick, or? Okay. That anyone would, you know, we're looking at, is this enough hours for extra hours, right? For our participants that are still learning English to some degree. And we were looking at whether or not the support we were putting in the class was enough support for that. So, and again, those were the decisions we were making, both in terms of how long it is, but the support that was in there in the class, and of course the curriculum we were using. So, I mean, that's why we looked at EnGen to begin with. We have a curriculum that is at a very high level, and then we have one that's been specifically out there by EnGen. We were looking at what EnGen had, which was a lot of different units at that point, or maybe smaller classes that, as Miranda mentioned, we molded into one so that we could do it with what we wanted them to know in the medical assistant class. So I think we only have a couple minutes left. I don't know if you want me to roll into learner stories or not. I'll just mention that what you have up there is a quote that we had taken, that was part of one of the, the speeches when we had our certificate ceremony, which was at the Memorial Care facilities. I'll read it off there. I've got another one on my page. Believing, they're thanking, HBAS and Memorial Care for believing, offering the externships and making them feel a part of a great family. We put that there because that's hugely important, right? We think that everything we did helped lead to that. The fact that we have this supportive curriculum in EnGen, the fact that we were leveraging partnerships, as Miranda has said a couple times, to make sure they get extra support. The fact that, we have the extra teacher in the room. So it's important, as all of you know who've run these sorts of programs, that they feel supported and that they, begin to feel that they're part of a family. And we feel, based on that quote and a couple others that they did. Another thing, we had two folks give speeches. The other one was indicating that day, that what she learned in the class, and she did say she learned this inside the class, was that, sometimes the best thing you can give a patient isn't treatment, but empathy. So I think the fact that they got around to those kind of conversations, at the end of this, we were really sold on soft skills again. So yes, EnGen helped us deliver this very technical curriculum. But a big part of what EnGen does, and those Saturdays that we do, is talk about the conversations around that. How do you speak to the doctor, and how do you speak to patients? That doesn't have anything to do with medical terminology at all. Our good students, and when they're in this class, they're good students. Our students can learn the medical terminology. It's how to use that language in conversations with doctors and patients that's difficult. And I think, I think the way we got that together helped our students in the most when we're able to look at it that way.
Oh, there's one more slide. 2 more slides, Patrick. I don't know. Sharing stopped.
We have one more slide, then we can wrap this up.
Yeah,
I think
we have until 1:10.
Okay.
I thought we had 70 minutes.
Yes, we have until actually 2:10 Pacific Central Time.
Okay.
So we have 10 more
Perfect.
minutes.
Yeah.
Sorry, that is good to know. I was thinking we were close to. So I'm going to speak a little bit. I definitely don't want to rob time from you all. So just let me know when we need to cut off. I quickly put some program outcomes there. I think for transparency's sake, they're not all 100%, but we had a really good program. We started with 24, but we only had 22 when we finished the class part of it, right? So before we're going to go out to internship, we had 22. We lost one early on due to pregnancy. This isn't even the pregnancy I'm going to end up talking about later. It's one of those where you're like wondering if what you were giving them in the water, right? We had 3 in the class that fell into that area. But anyway, 2 from the recruited 14 of Memorial Care didn't decide to go forward. All 10 of our students that went through the class for HBAS they made it. 9 of the 9 Memorial Care students started and finished the internship process. Now, if you're paying attention, you're like, well, he said there was 12. But when we got to the end of the internship, one was pregnant, one had a job that she knew she was going to stay with or was going a different way, and one moved, had to go somewhere else. So these things happen. That's what's there. 7 of the 9 HBAS students finished their program. And I'll be honest here, we had some things come up that go together with that, having the counselors, and the counselors were great. We helped the people to the best of our ability, but they were not able to finish their internship process. And, to this point, have not either. 9 of those 9 Memorial Care students who went through, again, only 9 decided to go through the internship or externship process, whatever you want to call it. They all went, they already had jobs there, and 6 of them have decided to move on to new positions. 3 are kind of in this holding. These are things we're figuring out when, we're having these conversations with Memorial Care. They're figuring out that even though they said they would move anywhere for that new position, some of them just want to stay where they are because they like that little family environment they're a part of, and they're not going to move for that new position, which we've all decided, well, we guess that's all right. I mean, that's what they want to do. The intent was anyone who wanted a new position would get it, the ones that were already with Memorial Care, and they were able to go. So they could have been 9 of 9, but a few of them are choosing otherwise. Of the ones that came from HBAS, these are students in our classes or students we brought in for this program. 2 of them had immediate job offers. Things went away, so I'm assuming we're not all here. Are we all here?
We're back.
We're back?
Yep.
Okay. The others, we do have 3 in process right now. I will tell you in connection with the data there, which is incomplete at this point because it wasn't too long ago that they graduated from this. Their head of the foundation that was working with us. So we had, the president of this foundation, his feeling, and he had met the students, was like anyone who, you know, wants to have a job is going to get it, whether that's on a, you know, daily coming in as a sub, but we're going to get them in there somehow and they're going to move forward. We've had some of our own pieces in there since then where same kind of things like, yeah, they offered me a job, but it's over in Fountain Valley and I don't want to go all the way to Fountain Valley. These are things that we might look at doing a little bit better job of coaching them up. Hey, like just take the job right away later. But so we're going through some of this right now. But we're having, again, we have good results. We did have 2 right away that were able to be offered those jobs and get those jobs. And we have a few more in the works. So anyway, that's the program outcomes and impact immediately. And we are going on to starting another one tomorrow, April 1st, which we've had to say time and again, it's not a joke. It's just because it's April Fool's Day.
Thank you so much for providing the overview of that, the outcomes and sort of the impact more specifically on the learners. I know we don't have as much time as we had anticipated with some of our technical challenges, but we do have a handout for you, and we do have 5 minutes that we could potentially spend on sort of looking at that. It's an individual sort of guided plan. These are some of the questions that you can ask in groups we can try and put you in small groups with your neighbor or person in front of you, behind you, to start thinking about, you know, what you can do to sort of improve, enhance, or start from scratch in terms of developing a model, an IET specific program that addresses the workforce needs in your region. And these are a lot of the questions that Phil and his team went through to get their program up and running. Before we do that, we should open it up to questions, Patrick, for Phil, if they have any specifics after sort of that program overview. Are you frozen again?
Oh, yeah, you may be.
Well, since we have the online group, I'll go ahead and share my screen and we can start talking about it. Or you can ask Phil questions more. Oh, here's Beth.
Oh, sorry, Miranda.
No.
I don't think we have enough time to break it out in sessions.
Oh.
I'm just logging
Okay.
in our professional development series. And then I think we could just wrap it up. And
Okay.
we still have a few more people who stayed, who've been very patient with us in the room. So
Yeah.
for everyone,
Did a lot of people leave because of all the technical glitches?
I think so, but we
Oh.
still have a couple people who are very patient. So
Okay.
Right.
so for all of you who have stayed, we want to invite you to our professional development series on April 9, 16, and 23rd. This is a 3-part professional development series that we're going to be talking about how to leverage EnGen's content, how to talk about best practices, and how to develop blended learning and using technology like EnGen. And so after completing this 3-part professional development series, you're going to be earning 3 CEU credit hours. And so we'd love for you to be there. There's going to be tons of resources for you to take back to your institutions. And the last thing is that if you haven't visited EnGen's booth yet, please feel free to visit us, as well as our channel partner, New Readers Press, is there. And so my colleague Sonia is also here in the room. So please visit our booth. We have resources, we have giveaways for you. And so we're happy to meet you there as well. And so I think that wraps it up. Thank you both for your patience as well as we navigate this technical difficulty. But I thought it was a very interesting conversation, and we learned a lot about your successful program, Phil. Thank you for sharing your time with us.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Phil. Thanks, Patrick.
Thanks, Miranda. All right.
Take care.